Hey guys, Nate here with Peak Fitness YYC. Today I'd like to take you through a little mobility flow here on the mat. We're just going to be working flexibility with bodyweight positions. I encourage you to follow along. First things first, we're going to start in a kneeling position, ideally stacked right over top of your hips, nice and tall. If this puts too much pressure on your knees, we can do the same thing from just a little higher up. Or if you prefer to sit or stand, really whatever's comfortable for you and your body. First things first, just gonna do a little palm squeeze with our arms directly in front, about the same height as our shoulders. Just open and close, warming up those muscles, getting some blood flow going. We're gonna simply do the same thing, changing positions, coming wide, doing your best to keep your shoulders down, so I'm not pulling up towards my neck, to my ears. And then we're going to do the same thing overhead. Again, trying to maintain a good, nice, natural stack. Hopefully I'm not pulling or leaning forward too much. Just do your best. Probably get a little bit of a burn going from there, which is totally normal. Just shake it out a little, relax. I'm going to come back to front, and we're going to rotate our palms this time, working through the shoulder a bit more. Big range, nice and controlled. And let's head sideways again. Palm up, palm down. Definitely feeling a little more in the shoulders this time around. And again, heading overhead. And once again, we'll shake it out a little. We're going to focus a bit more on our neck while we're here. I'm going to do some shoulder checks. Just rotating as far as I can, nice and controlled. Kind of just staying fixed through the torso, looking behind. We'll do the same thing with some yeses. I'm going to go chin to chest, then look to the sky. Couple more. And then we're going to finish side to side. Keeping my shoulders low again. Visioning my ear to the shoulder. Awesome. From there we're going to change positions. I'm going to go into a hand and knee posture. I'll rotate a little so you can see a bit better. Shoulders are going to be stacked over the wrist, hips over the knees, and we're going to start to address the forearm. So I'm just going to start by rocking my body weight very delicately forward, shifting back. Every time I lean, I'm getting a stretch through those forearm muscles. Only go as far as you feel comfortable with. Then we get a bit more creative. I'm going to do some circles. Just kind of have fun with it. Change directions. Whatever feels good. I'm going to do the same thing. This time shifting my fingers pointed away and wide. And I'm just going to move laterally side to side. Still working the wrist and forearm. Playing with some angles. And then our third, it's going to be probably the most aggressive, definitely the most aggressive. We're going to be really light. There's smaller muscles. As I shift my weight back this time, I'm going to get a really deep stretch. Unload, move forward. You may find this is a little too aggressive or it doesn't feel comfortable. If that's the case, I'd just play with those first two positions and eventually try to work your way into this one. Side to side a little if you want. Then just to get a bit more movement in the wrist again, I'm going to do some transitions. I'm going from palm up, back to palm down. And again, variety is your friend. We're just going to play with different positions with our hands, with our fingers. Palm up can be a pretty unique position if you're not used to it. Just takes a little practice. Doing your best to open that hand up while keeping a straight elbow. You might not be able to put very much weight on it, that's fine. And then another variation I really like is actually going to be a fist. I'm squeezing my hand, everything's stacked. I'm just putting weight into that as much as I can, if that feels comfortable. Then I'm going to transition into my fingers, into the fingertips, back and forth. Again, depends how strong and aggressive you're feeling on that particular day. If I want to make this more challenging, I'm just going to get more of my weight over my arms by leaning forward a little. If I want it more mellow, I can have my weight more over my hips. And again, being creative and kind of reach wherever I want. Every little different angle is going to work your body a little differently. We're going to shift our focus more to the spine. So I'm in pretty much that same posture. Adjust again if you want. And we're going to do some spine arches, some cats and some cows. Going to flex chin to chest, roll everything in, and then slowly open, extend, look to the sky. Everything tucked. Everything open. Cats hiss, and cows moo. Awesome. Then we're going to add in a couple of body parts. So we're going to get our arms and legs moving, opposite arm, opposite leg, with a nice long reach. We want to extend and then try to get high. Working your balance a little bit as well. Just back and forth at a rhythm that feels good. Let's do a couple more. And then we're going to change our angles. It's a really nice one for the low back and some of our rotators. I'm going to reach underneath my hand and reset. And then again, reach through and reset. You're in control of your range. I like to get my shoulder right on the mat, kind of pop through, look underneath my armpit. If you want to stay there for a second, just hang out. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, maybe you want to play with different angles. You reach. Moving along, we're going to go with a straight leg with one of our back legs, of course. And I'm going to cross over and then reach high and wide. Crossing over, reach high and wide. Kind of think like an animal swinging its tail. You won't be able to go as far with that cross, that's totally normal. Careful your surroundings, try not to whack anything. And of course, same thing other side, cross and high. Nice way just to get some movement through the hips. Moving along, I'm going to drop down essentially into child's pose. Again, how the body feels will determine how low you get. Just take a couple breaths here. We're going to walk over to one side. Get a really nice stretch through my back, through my lats. Just drop low. Take a couple breaths. Take some big steps over to the opposite side. And when you're ready, coming back to the middle. From the middle, I'm going to get into a bit more hip work, extending, looking to the sky, unloading, dropping back into that low hold, pressing my body weight forward, hips to the floor, chest open. And if you're feeling this at all in your low back, just don't go as far. Move slowly. Another variation I recommend you try is doing a little bit of a push-up, which we'll do next. So from here, again, most of you are going to want to start pretty mellow. I extend my hips. I'm going to drop down, come back up, take a break. You may want to adjust your arms a little bit. If you want to challenge yourself, you can come right into a plank. Same push. Drop down. Then on our next rep, we're going to drop lower and just hang out here. So now that we're on our stomach, I'm going to bring my arms overhead. Everything's nice and long and straight. And I'm just going to go for another alternating lift. Leg and arm. Head stays low, spine's relatively neutral, core is engaged. Pretend like I'm swimming, even though it's not something I'm overly good at. We're going to come wide with our arms. I've got a really good chest and hip opener here, where I'm going to take my leg back to my opposite arm, reset in the middle, again I'm getting a very good stretch on this high leg and hip, and on this low arm through my chest and pec. Usually I'll call these guys scorpions, with that back leg being a scorpion tail, that stinger. All right, from here we're going to roll to our side. Hips are stacked at 90, knees are stacked at 90. It's a really important part actually. If you need to support your head, by all means grab a pillow, or you can use your arms. I like to keep both arms out straight. And I'm just going to do a big reach. Turning and looking behind. Want that shoulder to come nice and low to the ground if I can, without compromising these hips. I don't want to lift.
And of course, we'll do the same thing other side. You may find one side's better than the other. It's very normal. Awesome. I'm going to stay on our back, or transition to our back, I suppose. I'm in a fairly traditional sit-up posture. Feet are about hip or shoulder width apart. Got a good 90-degree bend in my knee. And from here, we're going to just do a bit more work on our hips and our glutes. So very basic, but we're going to do a press-up. Pushing our hips high to the sky and releasing. Push high to the sky and release. Waking up glutes and continuing to stretch our hip flexors. And then I'm going to progress into a bit of a crunch, waking up my core. Very introductory, but just going to roll up with my hands to about the top of my kneecap. Not using momentum, just showing control. Couple more. Those crunches are going to work a lot of our traditional ab muscles, especially in the upper region. This next kind of leg lower, bent leg lower I'm going to do is going to be a bit more for our lower abdominals, our pelvis. I'm just going to drop low and then come back high. And if I've got the ability, I'm going to try and lift my hips, my pelvis just a little bit. If you're feeling that in the low back and not in the core, then I just want you to decrease your range of motion. Maybe you come a little more shallow. Still so you can get that hip press. Requires a lot of control. Regardless of fitness level, it should be tough. And just to give everything a little break, I'm going to take a wider stance. And I'm just going to do a little knee drop, side to side, really loose and kind of Gumby. Give everything a break. And when you're ready, we're going to make our way up to seated. Lots of different ways to do so. A fun challenge, if you're up for it, is actually just going to be to rock and roll a little. So core's engaged, just popping back and forth. Almost think of it like a rocking chair. Then when I want, just going to pop all the way up. And regroup, make sure you got space. I'm coming with straight legs, shoulders above my hips. If you need to bend the knee, obviously bend the knee. And I'm just going to do a little reach, ankle, between the legs and ankle, back and forth. Always moving. As you feel a little better, a little more confident, maybe you're reaching a little further. Awesome. From there, we're going to get into one of my favorite positions. It's got lots of different names, but essentially I'm just going to take wide legs. I'm going to drop to one side so that my knees are in contact to the ground or close to. And in a perfect world, I got about a 90-degree bend in both of these knees. From here, I just want you to kind of check in with yourself, see how this feels. It can be pretty challenging. Ideally, our shoulders are over top of our hips. Just hang out for a second. And then what we're gonna do next, I'm gonna pretend I've got hinges through my feet, and I'm gonna pivot, rotate, and if everything went well, I should be in almost the same posture on the opposite side. Same thing, check in, see where your body weight is. If you're jamming or cramping or this feels way too tough, there's nothing to say we can't have a little bit of weight behind. We're just trying to work towards being stacked. Then we're going to transition back and forth. If you feel like you're scooching forward the way I am, that's normal. And then just like so much else, we do have a really nice transition from here. To make it a little more challenging, a little more strength-based, I'm going to press my hips up, a lot of weight on, I guess, the lead knee, shift back, press up. Okay. If you don't feel comfortable with this guy, obviously don't work it just yet. Awesome. Again, just changing my angles a little. So I didn't have my hands back before, now I do. My preference for these guys is actually fingers away. Some people really like fingers forward. Just depends on your preference. You can try both. We're going to do one more sort of chest opener. Hips are going to stay on the ground. Chin to chest. Look to the sky. Kind of a subtle variation of what we started with at the beginning. Then if we want to make it a little more fancy, a little more strength-based, we're going to do a full press up and lower, press up and lower. You may feel restricted through the hips or through the shoulder. It's different for everybody. I've got one more progression. I'm going to straighten one leg. Opposite arm is going to connect with the bent knee. And from here, I'm going to do a little tripod press up where I'm going to extend and reach overhead. Reset, extend, reach overhead. And of course, same idea other side. Make that connection, elbow to knee. That's the easiest way to figure it out. Post and reach. I like to get as much height as I can. The heel's going to lift. And I'm reaching behind and away. From there, we're going to get into a position very similar to what we started with, especially for those of you that stayed tall. So I'm on my knees, and I'm just going to get into an alternating lunge. It's a resting lunge. I'm still keeping weight on that back leg. Coming back to the middle. Just shifting back and forth. Just going to challenge your balance a bit. Every time I put that foot down, I'm transferring my weight forward, getting a nice stretch in my back hip, in my ankle, a bunch of other places. Check in with yourself. You may feel like you got to swing this leg out and away. If you are, try and narrow it up. See if you have the mobility and strength. Just kind of keep things a little closer. Then we want to progress it. You can add some reaches. Pretend like you're picking up your car keys. You can play with different angles. Maybe you want to go high. And this time I'm going to come wide to the side for my hamstrings. Whole lower leg as well. Post out. and then lean in. Like I said, going to be feeling it on that low side of that straight leg. If you want to reach again, why not? Awesome. Again, I'd encourage you to use this first thing in the morning. A great way to kind of finish your day as well. Or if you want to use it as a warm-up for some more intense exercise, go for it. Hope you enjoyed, and thank you.